How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we have an NFL news type of video. We're going to be covering a lot of different things that have happened around the league, and this will kind of be a two-parter, man. The first part, we'll be talking about of course, like Big Ben and Jalen Ramsey. In the second part, we're going to talk about Minkah, Fitzpatrick, and Drew Brees. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys, if you have social media and you keep up with the NFL, I'm pretty sure you guys already know what I'm talking about. This isn't really news to anyone in that sense, but I really like to do these videos. I like giving my thoughts and showing you guys, like, from my perspective, what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to point out, and basically giving you guys like an authentic opinion. Now, of course, a lot of people are going to have the same opinions. You can't escape that ever, but it's good to have your own opinion in that sense. Like, it's good to gather your own thoughts and develop them and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. First real big part of their news, and that's that Big Ben Roethlisberger is out for the season. He is going to be having elbow surgery. It was reported that he couldn't feel anything in his fingers, basically throughout that game in Seattle, and that the elbow pain kind of goes back to week one against New England. Week one against New England, he was under a lot of stress in that game, a lot of duress from the Patriots, who look like they have one of the best scoring defenses, if not the best scoring defense in the NFL, up to 2 weeks into the season. But Big Ben's going to miss the entire season, and this comes at a real unfortunate time. I mean, yes, they have a backup quarterback, who I'm going to talk about later, but they traded their third-string quarterback because they're one of the rare teams that kept three quarterbacks on the roster. But they traded their third-string guy, Josh Dobbs, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, for a mid-round pick, for like a fifth-round pick, I'm pretty sure. And Josh Dobbs, had looked pretty good in preseason play for Pittsburgh. Granted, it's preseason play, and in the limited action he's had, he actually hasn't been a bad player. But he ends up getting traded, and of course that week Big Ben Roethlisberger goes out for the season. It's really unfortunate. He got the news Monday, and we really wouldn't know until Monday afternoon, and then we got the word a little bit before lunchtime that he's going to miss the entire season. It sucks. But now let's talk about their backup quarterback, their current backup situation, and how I think the Steelers will pan out throughout the rest of the year. So, of course, their backup quarterback is Mason Rudolph. He is a second-year quarterback from Oklahoma State, a very good college quarterback. He was quarterback number 6 in terms of his draft position and for rankings for the most part. In the 2018 draft class of quarterbacks, which featured, of course, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. So Mason Rudolph was kind of like the other guy, the guy that a lot of people forgot about. But he's actually a very talented quarterback. He comes from an offense where he can throw the deep ball very well. And ironic enough, his college teammate, James Washington, was a third-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he's a guy who, he obviously has chemistry with. I mean, these guys were college teammates, racked up a lot of touchdowns, a lot of deep bombs as well, from Mason Rudolph to James Washington. And I think we're going to see a little bit of the same thing. I think they're going to rekindle that college football, relationship. I think they're going to be able to get things working. Now, how do I think this team will do with Mason Rudolph at quarterback? I think they're going to be okay. Now, my definition of okay and a lot of other people's definition of okay may be two different things. I think the Steelers will at least remain competitive. Now, they're already off to a bad start, okay? They're 0-2. They lost to New England in convincing fashion, and then, that was a road game too, though, so it is what it is. And then at home to Seattle, Pittsburgh's a pretty good home team, but Mason Rudolph did play in the second half, and overall he looked good. Overall he didn't look too bad. I think he had an interception. Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. Somebody had an interception. I can't remember who. But let's see here. He had the touchdown to Vance McDonald. They were in it until the very end of that game against Seattle. This isn't like a game where, they had no shot. But I think they're going to be fine with Mason Rudolph. I like him as a quarterback. And another thing is you don't really have to change the offense too much from what Big Ben did to what Mason Rudolph can do, because Rudolph can throw a good deep ball. and he has a strong arm. He's going to let it rip, just like Big Ben would let it rip. Obviously, he is not Big Ben, or else he wouldn't be the backup quarterback. But in terms of like what he likes to do, you don't have to change up the offense a whole lot, which why getting a Mason Rudolph and having him as your backup is actually a very good thing, considering Big Ben Roethlisberger is your starter, and he also excels at throwing the deep ball. So overall, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will be fine. I think they'll be able to remain competitive. Playoff-wise, I don't know. I did have this team as a wild card. I think they were my 6th seed, I'm pretty sure, at the beginning of the season. And I don't know if they'll remain that. I don't know if they'll fall out of playoff contention, but we're going to see what the Steelers are made of. We're going to see what Mike Tomlin's made of. And with the other piece of news that I'm going to talk about for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I guess I'll go more in depth there. But now we have to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is also why they are on the practice field for me in this little sit-down discussion session. But Jalen Ramsey has requested a trade. Jalen Ramsey, arguably the best corner in the league, if not at least somewhere in your top 3. He's one of the best corners in the league. And he's asking for a trade. And a lot of it has to do with an incident that happened Sunday in the game against the Houston Texans. Him and his head coach, Doug Marrone, got into it on the sideline. And Jalen Ramsey, of course, as soon as he requested the trade, him and his agent kind of, went into a little bit more detail as to why this came about. Jalen Ramsey says that, he doesn't like the way he's being used. He doesn't like some of the... he feels like that they're not being, shown appreciation in terms of his strengths and whatnot. And I'm sure there's a lot of interest across the league. We really haven't heard much about who's given the best offer so far. I mean, I did see something, but I don't know how real it is. But it did talk about Kansas City, having the best offer so far. We'll see if that's actually true. But a lot of teams could use Jalen Ramsey. Because he is one of the best corners in the league. It's so hard to find a good corner these days that if there's one available, you have to make the trade. And Jalen Ramsey, like I said, arguably a top 3 corner for some. For me, I think he's the best corner, but it's a pretty close margin between 1 and 3 for me. So it's not like the end of the world for me to just say he's number 1. But... Jacksonville, Jacksonville, they're looking for at least a first-round pick and more because of what transpired in the Minkah trade. Plus, you have to consider he is one of the best at his position. I keep saying that over and over. It's just a fact, and I feel like I have to remind people here and there. But, yeah, Jacksonville basically looking to trade this guy, or not looking to trade this guy necessarily. Jalen Ramsey's the guy that just wants out. But this deal could get done pretty soon, will it transition into a holdout? Will he want to play? There's a lot of different things you have to talk about. They do have a Thursday night game against Tennessee. What's funny is Jalen Ramsey had an interview that was resurfaced, and 2 of the teams that were in the interview, one of them happened to be Tennessee, which is very interesting. He said Tennessee and Oakland was the other one. I don't know if John Gruden will make the trade for him. I would think about it if I'm John Gruden. It's hard to come by a very good, arguably top 3 defensive back. So maybe he does pull the trigger. I don't know about trading within the division, but Jalen Ramsey is going to need a new contract soon. I believe he's in his fourth season. I don't know if that team will get the 5th-year option, the team that trades for him. I don't really think that's how it works, but maybe they do. If you do, you're lucky. You can postpone paying him. But Jalen Ramsey's going to demand the bag. I mean, it's hard to come by a great corner, and when you have one, you got to pay him. That's just what it comes down to. But, I'm going to transition now. I'm going to transition to the news regarding Drew Brees and Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I'll see you guys here in a second. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for part 2 of the NFL update for me and NFL news or whatever. And we're going to start off talking about the New Orleans Saints, man. We're going to start off talking about Drew Brees, Damn it, man. Being sick sucks. That's all I could say. I went from sniffling and to freaking having to clear my throat. But Drew Brees, is going to be having surgery on his thumb, and the minimum he can miss is 6 weeks. Now, the Saints, their backup situation is a little different. They have Teddy Bridgewater, who is one of the more expensive backup quarterbacks in the league. Arguably one of the better ones, too. The thing is, I know a lot of people are probably going to pound the table for Taysom Hill to come in and be the starter. It's similar to what we talked about with Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't have to change the offense up for Teddy Bridgewater, okay? Because this is not an offense that's going to beat you vertically. They're going to take the short and intermediate passes. Teddy Bridgewater at least can hit the short passes. The intermediate passes, we'll see. Ever since his injury, and even a little bit before then, it really wasn't his strong suit. He was just a smart, I'm not going to lose you the game type of quarterback. He was like a game manager. And that's all he really has to be. You have Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, Alvin Kamara, all in your offense. All you really have to be is a game manager. Just get the ball to your big playmakers and don't turn the football over. Now, the defense has to step up. The offensive line, got to tighten up a little bit, because you allowed, they didn't really allow Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald just did what he wanted to do. Got in there and, hit Drew Brees in the hand. It wasn't intentional or nothing. It was all reactionary. So you really can't be mad at Aaron Donald. He didn't intentionally hurt Drew Brees. But it's interesting, like I said, a lot of people are going to want Taysom Hill to start. I think Taysom Hill will play more than just being a gimmicky player. Eventually he might get a shot at quarterback. But you got to understand where Sean Payton's coming from as well. Yes, he did hype up Taysom Hill in the preseason, okay? A lot of people get hyped up in the preseason and in training camp and OTAs. A lot of people get hyped up. It's not really that big of a deal. But Sean Payton knows that he doesn't have to change the offense for Teddy Bridgewater. Whereas for Taysom Hill, who is a good athlete, can make some of the throws here and there, you'd have to change the offense up a ton because you would want some gimmicky run plays with Taysom Hill. You don't want him to just stand in the pocket and throw a bunch of checkdowns. No, you're going to want to open things up. And maybe that is a lame excuse for Sean Payton to not want to start Taysom Hill. But, like I said, with Teddy Bridgewater, you can keep the offense simple. And sometimes simple, believe it or not, can still win football games. I mean, we just watched the New England Patriots, throughout the month of January, go 2 tight ends, 1 fullback, and just hand it off to Sony Michel 37 times. It still works. You can still win football games that way. And they have Latavius Murray, who's a little bit of a bigger back, probably can fit that role better. Whereas Kamara is more of the big play potential back, very good in the receiving game, obviously, almost like a slot receiver. But with Teddy Bridgewater, who knows? And not Seattle. That is their next opponent, though. But New Orleans' schedule is kind of tough. You face Chicago, you face Dallas, you face Seattle. Those are 3 teams that, you could probably put down an L for. But then you face the Cardinals, anything can happen there. I think you face Jacksonville as well. Maybe you get lucky and beat Jacksonville. I mean, it'll be Gardner Minshew versus Bridgewater. Minshew's been playing pretty good, actually. I give him credit. But maybe the Saints' firepower just overcomes it. And maybe Jalen Ramsey's traded by then, so you don't have to worry about Jalen Ramsey shadowing Michael Thomas. It'll just be A.J. Boye, who is very good in his own right, but he's not Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? He's not quite as good. Let's see. I think they face Tampa Bay as well. I mean, Tampa could mess around and beat the Saints. It's not out of the realm of possibility like they did last year. Granted, that was when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the MVP of the league for 2 weeks. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I feel like best case scenario for the Saints is they go 3-3 over the next 6 weeks, and they remain somewhat competitive and respectable as an opponent. Now, if you look at the rest of that division, You got Carolina, who, they started out 0-2. Maybe they start to pick it up. You have the Falcons, who are coming off a big-time win against Philadelphia, at home, too. Like, you're getting them pumped, and their schedule doesn't look too bad out for the next few weeks. So, I mean, the Falcons could definitely create some momentum. Maybe Tampa Bay builds on their momentum. They're 1-1. They beat someone in the division already in Carolina on a short week. Maybe they get something going. But it's just all very interesting to me. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see what these guys are made of. And finally, Minkah Fitzpatrick. So, Minkah Fitzpatrick was one of the Miami players who were disgruntled after that Week 1 loss to the Baltimore Ravens, where they lost 59-10. And he contacted his agent, and they were working on, basically getting out, finding a trade, and getting himself out of there. Now, there were 5 teams that were early teams in the running. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, y'all. But you had 5 teams in the running. You had the Seattle Seahawks, you had the New York Jets, the Green Bay Packers, Denver Broncos, and Pittsburgh Steelers. And then yesterday, like 5 hours before the trade went down, we heard all of a sudden like the Chiefs and the Redskins won in. And then a couple of days before that news was announced, we heard that Dallas sent like an offer. It didn't have a first round pick in it like Miami wanted, but there were 2 offers sent, right? And one of them was a second round pick and a 5th round pick, which isn't bad. I mean, that's a pretty solid offer, but of course you'll find out that they got a better offer. And then there was another trade that was a second round pick and Taco Charlton. So, Taco Charlton, of course, has requested a trade. They figured, hey, a guy that's requested a trade, let's throw him in, for this deal along with the second. Now, keep in mind, Dallas traded a first-round pick for Amari Cooper. They would not trade a first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is going to be under contract for 3 more seasons anyway. So, it's just very interesting that did not happen. But hey, it is what it is. Dallas, I would have liked to have seen him gone there. Not for me as a Packer fan, but I think him as a slot, as a nickel corner, he would have been pretty good. For Pittsburgh, which is the team he went to, by the way, spoiler. He ends up getting traded to Pittsburgh for a first-round pick, and they had 2 pick swaps. I think a lot of it was like a 4th, that's going to the Steelers, and a 6th that's going to the Steelers. And I think the Steelers are trading a 5th and a 6th along with their first-round pick. So the fact that Pittsburgh, was able to get more draft picks, as well as a Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they basically had to swap picks, that's pretty good. They were able to come out of here with more than just Minkah Fitzpatrick. Granted, there was a pick swap. That's fine. That's a huge win for Pittsburgh in that regard. Miami, they got what they wanted, which was the first-round pick. And now they have like 7 first-round picks over the next like few years. Nah, it ain't that crazy, but I think it's something like that, like 5 first-round picks, which is just insane. But Minkah Fitzpatrick, my fear about him, and I'm not saying he can't be a good safety. When I say I want to see him at slot corner, it doesn't necessarily mean, he's going to be shit everywhere else he plays. It just means that I feel like his ceiling, I feel like the most likely for him to be an all-pro or a pro bowler would be him playing slot corner. It's not going to be him playing safety. My biggest fear is Pittsburgh's going to play him at safety because they suck ass at that position too. Like they're starting Terrell Edmonds, who is garbage. Sean Davis is okay, but he's been in that system for a while and really hasn't done much to improve. Or else they wouldn't be in the market for a safety. But Minkah Fitzpatrick could also play corner. Outside of Joe Hayden, who the hell do they have at corner? Steven Nelson, who's okay. Artie Burns, he's still on the team. Didn't even notice. But, who else do they have at corner? Minkah Fitzpatrick as a nickel corner makes the most sense for Pittsburgh. Imagine the blitzes you could send. Imagine the creativity you could have. And hell, if you want to stack the box on a running back, you could have him play deep safety if there's a play action play. Like, you could switch him all over the place. It's just his primary position would be that slot corner. Maybe you want him playing deep safety on certain looks. But I'm just telling you, I think he is going to benefit the most playing slot corner for Pittsburgh. Now, we'll see how they use him. I'm excited because this is a team who just lost Big Ben Roethlisberger to injury, and they're saying, you know what? Let's go get this defensive back that's on the market. Let's go get us a Minkah Fitzpatrick. We have Mason Rudolph. We think we can do something still, despite losing our franchise quarterback. So I like that. And if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you'd probably be upset. Like, damn, we just lost Big Ben for the year. Now we just lost our first-round pick. We're going to be garbage, and we have this defensive back. Yes, that could very well happen. But I think this is a very risky thing that Pittsburgh's doing, but I love it. Because a lot of teams are afraid to take risk. You cannot be afraid to take a risk. Dallas took a risk on Amari Cooper, and guess what? They've been pretty damn good ever since he's gotten there. Have they won a Super Bowl? No. But they've been pretty damn good, and you have to give them credit. You know, the Bears went all in for Khalil Mack. Have they won a Super Bowl? No. But they've had the number one defense in the NFL ever since he stepped foot, you know, on the practice facility. They were that good out of the gate. You know, a lot of teams, we see them taking risk. We see them dialing it up and sending their best offers. And you have to get risky, man. It can't just be, let's sign some free agents here and there to fill out the roster and draft a bunch of dudes. Nah, man, you got to get risky. If you believe in your team, you take the risk. And Pittsburgh obviously believes in its foundation enough to the point where they can send that trade. So major props to Pittsburgh for having guts, having the balls to do something that a lot of teams in their situation would not have the balls to do. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, man. Let me hear your thoughts, man, in the comment section about everything that I've discussed. How are you feeling about the Minkah trade? Do you think he'll be good in Pittsburgh? Do you think he'll be garbage? Do you think he's garbage? And then, of course, like with Drew Brees and Big Ben missing time, how do you think the seasons for the New Orleans Saints and Pittsburgh Steelers pan out? And Jalen Ramsey, you know, where do you think he's going? Where's the best destination? All that stuff. Let me know down in the comment section below, and peace out.